2024. Please be advised that this meeting is being broadcast live by Westford Cable Access TV and recorded for playback online. By participating in this meeting, you are agreeing to your likeness and audio being captured for playback online. The first item on our agenda is the 7 o'clock open forum. Do any members of the commission have something for open forum? Matt, do you have something?
The Old Lowell Road culvert was finished last week by the contractor, and they're anticipating starting the Groton Road culvert over Blue Brook sometime in the upcoming 2 to 3 weeks. So please keep an eye out for notifications from
for a detour.
Yeah. So recommended to avoid Route 40 for a while because I think there is a one-lane detour in effect. So.
Do any members of the audience have something for open forum? Okay, moving on to our other 7 p.m. agenda item. It's a request for partial certificate of compliance for Nicholas Locuda at the project at Lakeside Meadows open space.
Okay, hello everybody.
Good evening.
My name is, for the record, Nicholas Locuda.
No,
No, you just.
so we can hear you.
For the record, my name is Nicholas Locuda. I live at 16 Brookview Drive. As stated before, I am seeking a partial certificate of compliance for the Lakeside Meadows Boardwalk project. So, we've all seen the photos of the site before install, bit of a mess, mud, stuff like that. I'm not gonna spend too much time here because we've seen this before. So, here is the project after completion. You can see we've ran down a boardwalk. These photos were taken before the ADA ramps were fitted on either end. But the overall idea is the same. You can see the boardwalk runs over the mud and basically protects it from erosion and damage, and it should mitigate all of the issues that were previously had at the site. And the boardwalk, it meets all the original criteria that was discussed and in the plans. Mr. Salem and Mr. Fontaine have inspected the boardwalk. They've stated it looks good. There's no issues with it. So with that in mind, I'm requesting a partial certificate of compliance for my work on the boardwalk because, just to remind, the order of conditions pulled for this project allowed for 300 feet of boardwalk to be constructed. I was responsible for this first 100 feet. That's what's been built. And the Homeowners Association of the Lakeside Meadows Development is responsible for the next 200 feet. So I've built the 100 feet I'm responsible for, so I'm requesting a partial certificate to sign off for that portion of the work.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good job.
Yeah.
Nice work. Yeah, really.
So did do a site visit in mid-June. Looked very good. Passed the jump test. Had him and his brother jump on it a couple of times, and would recommend the commission issue a partial certificate of compliance. Did receive correspondence from the Homeowners Association acknowledging that if they do want to pursue the additional 200 feet, that they would be in communication with myself and affirming that they were complying with the design as provided originally.
Okay. Are there any members of the audience here to speak on this project? You know, commenting one way or the other. Okay. Can I have a motion to issue a partial certificate of compliance as outlined by Matt for DEP file number 334-1848?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I believe you also have some leftover funds that you would like to donate to our fund to support future Eagle Scout projects?
So yes, at the conclusion of the project, I had a surplus of funding, and this funding totaling $32.07, I will be turning over to the Conservation Commission. I've already notified Mr. Salem my intent to do this. He's informed me that he's taking care of the process to do so. So I have the funding here ready to turn over right now if that is so desired.
Nothing usually happens. The select board voted to accept the donation pursuant to the MGL citation in my memo.
So can I have a motion to support to accept the donation of the funds?
Graciously accept with thanks.
Yes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Right here.
Matt will,
It's like a hot potato.
We won't spend it all in one place.
Really.
You can give it to the chair.
thank you very much, and thank you for your work on this project.
That's
Thank you for all the support you've provided me. I could not have done this without you.
We appreciate having scouts doing so many great projects in town. It really makes Westford a much better place.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to our 7:05 PM agenda item. It's an appointment with Jay Goodwin and Nesra Engineering regarding Stony Brook Middle School Athletic Complex.
That was heartwarming. I'm just really glad I got here in time to see that.
Good evening, I'm Jeff Goodwin. I'm the Director of Facilities for the town of Westford and Westford Public Schools. Joining me tonight is Arson and Hip from Nesra Engineering. We came to discuss with you the project that we're getting ready to pursue at the Stony Brook Athletic Complex. The project is going to be going out to bid in the next few weeks, and because the project abuts conservation land, we wanted to meet with you all just to discuss what the scope of the project is and answer any questions or concerns that you might have regarding the project. So what we're doing in essence is, right now there is an existing track and athletic courts on the site of Stony Brook. Right now there's 5 existing tennis courts, 2 basketball courts, and a track. The proposed project scope is not expanding on the footprint of what's currently there. We're really replacing in kind what is there. For anyone who's been on the track or the courts in recent years knows that there's significant heaving in the track and lots of cracks and asphalt deterioration across the whole complex. So this project seeks to replace those and address the concerns, the safety concerns that are currently on the track. I'd probably like to hand it over to Arson now. He can explain to you what we're going to be doing as far as drainage and replacement of the sub base underneath the track and what that looks like as far as how invasive that's going to be to the site itself and any of the surrounding areas.
Thank you. Yeah, happy to. Good evening. The intent is to remove the rubber surfacing that's on top of the track, dispose of that properly. Then we'll pulverize the asphalt pavement. A machine will go through it, mill, and mix the pavement with the base material. Remove that from the site, bring in new dense graded stone that's suitable for a running track, install that, compact it, pave over the top 2 layers, allow that to cure for a time, and then resurface it with the rubber surfacing. Similar process will take effect with the tennis courts and basketball courts. However, we think we will be able to reuse the base and pave over that. Our geotechnical engineers have just submitted the report. I have to go through those findings a little bit deeper, but we believe we will be able to reuse that. For the track is required to have a 1 meter safety zone, so there's a few areas where we're about 6 inches shy, so that, we'll expand slightly, but not enough to make any kind of a consequence in terms of drainage. Everything from the edge of the track and the asphalt on the edge flows inward towards the athletic field, where there's a trench drain that collects the runoff, and then it's outlets through existing outlet pipes. If we go down to 2 sheets, the next sheet is the layout sheet that shows the 2 basketball courts, followed by 5 tennis courts, 3 of which will also be overlaid with pickleball courts, and we have some practice board along the fence, a little bit of seating in the middle. The grass field will remain, but we'll pave the D areas, expand those slightly so that it can accommodate high jump, long jump, triple jump, and we'll rebuild the shot put. And then if we go down to the grading, it shows essentially everything flows to the bottom right along the tennis courts, which is what they do now, but they'll just be smoother and more along the plane surface. A little bit of grading on the side there, but the top right corner of the sheet where the track is, to accommodate the flow. Currently, there's a little bit of puddling that happens between the track and the court, so this will just allow it to flow a little bit better. Everything stays on this side of the property line. The dashed lines that you see on the right are the inner and outer riparian zone, which are the 100 and 200, and the track is approximately 130 feet total away, so it's an additional 30 feet away from the outer riparian zone, and the courts are 50 feet away further than that. So we're well out of the resource areas, but again, wanted just to notify you and bring you in the loop. The next sheet should show the drainage, which maintains the existing outlets. I think if you scroll just a bit more, it's on the bottom right. That's where the current outlet is on the right of it. We'll just add one new one next to it and eliminate two of the older ones that are no longer functioning properly. But the gist of it and the layout is all the same. I think it'll be a good addition to the town and for the kids. It'll be a competitive track. We have some detail sheets if you'd like to see details, but that's the gist of the project.
Any members of the commission have any comments or questions? No?
Just as shown on the erosion control plan? Yeah. Demolition and erosion control plan. They are proposing to have the erosion controls right along the property line with the commission's property, but you know, having it be located in the right location, you know. And then additionally, I think you mentioned previously that some of the area, some of this slope is currently vegetated from just growth over time, and that's likely impacting some of the track, and ongoing maintenance of kind of the slope for the track as it was previously constructed will be ongoing, but don't see any. I have no concerns with this project. I certainly appreciate both Jeff and Arson's inclusion on
Trees that are coming down, are those an issue at all? Saw some trees.
So
that
we
were-
don't have major trees, but I think the intrusion of the growth, the recent growth,
Okay.
I think the roots are getting into the track and ruining it. So I think it would be a prudent move to just up to the side of the slope there to remove those so that the system will last longer. And it should be a maintenance, you know, ongoing maintenance over the years to continue to keep that down.
And where were those trees with the roots?
You have
It would all be within the first 2 meters along the edge of the track. Yeah.
Right around that.
And that's what you were talking about, that was growing up and stuff? Okay.
Now, are these, I'm assuming these are native vegetation, these are not, are you seeing any invasive species?
I think there is some invasive vines. I think I noticed some Rosa rugosa. But the rest are, you know, 2-inch caliper or smaller.
So pine trees, oak trees, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, okay. Are there any comments or questions on this project from members of the audience? I know we appreciate you coming to us and showing us the details of the project. It looks like there's not going to be any filing needed, so, but it's nice to get a look-see before it gets started.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
If anything comes up.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Moving on to our 7:15 PM agenda item, we have a continuation for public hearing and issue order of conditions for Diamond, 64 Lake Shore Drive North.
I received an email this afternoon from the applicant's representative. He's unable to make it tonight due to another commitment, but he did have the opportunity to review the drafted special conditions. He and the property owner didn't have any comments with respect to them. He did comment that a minor plan revision would be, he had some revisions with respect to the Board of Health's comments, but they were all related to notes and general, the design of the system as proposed was satisfactory to the Board of Health. It's just some of the
I's and G's.
yeah. Additionally on the plan. If the commission has any questions for, we can certainly try to answer.
Were there any comments or changes for the order of conditions? Can I have a motion to issue the order of conditions?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Can I have a motion to close a public hearing?
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay,
I have something for you.
I know.
My notes.
Moving on to our 7:20 PM agenda item, we have a public hearing for Coleman, 34 Beaverbrook Road.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, August 28th, 2024, at 7:20 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the request for determination of applicability application of Hosea Coleman for the removal of 3 trees within 100 feet of bordering vegetative wetlands and bordering land subject to flooding, and within 200 feet of Beaverbrook at 34 Beaverbrook Road.
Good evening.
I guess I'm Josiah Coleman,
I'm Angela Sheehan.
my wife. So we live right next to the Beaverbrook Conservation Area, and over the summer, a large tree fell near our house, quite near, which got us thinking that we need to look at the trees that are kind of overhanging the house and the garage. So we contacted a tree service. They came by. They were suggesting a couple of trees that were overhanging the garage. They were suggesting those for removal. In the process of doing the paperwork and everything to get on this, to get to the meeting here, one of the other trees in our kind of front area started to fall into the conservation area and is now in the middle of leaning on a bunch of trees kind of in the conservation area.
When we had purchased the house, there was already a tree down and we had just left it because the chipmunks were happy. And so since then, the second tree fell about a month ago. And again, as Josie mentioned, within the last couple of weeks, the third tree has now started falling and is putting a lot of pressure and strain on the trees on which it's supporting it.
So basically, we were coming here because we wanted to get approval to get the.
So you have these 2 trees here, and the one up there that fell into the wetlands area, not just leaving it be or cutting it, or what are the plans?
I think
for that?
it's hung up in existing trees, so.
Okay, so it's just locked up there. Okay.
Yeah, and more, and so I think the intent was to have that removed in addition to the in proximity to the garage. I stopped out briefly this afternoon, and I think, while it certainly doesn't appear to be leaning towards the proper, towards the lawn area, in the event that falls, it's going to take a lot more trees with it. So
The plan was to cut it
yes, I think just
down to the
But we-
stump it,
have we
log
talked
it.
about-
yeah, and so as if there aren't other questions from the commission, leaving kind of a standing snag 10 to 15 feet, then it becomes habitat for the chipmunks and the wood chippers. The wood chippers. That's a long day. And additionally, replanting, certainly there are conservation posts already out. The plan provided does show, this was the as-built from when the septic system was replaced a couple years ago. And so, I think there could be opportunity maybe in the front yard, kind of in this area, where the one that came down, plant something that's not going, going to grow to 30 feet and won't, ultimately impact anything.
Yeah.
Midget tree.
So we can, then that, we can discuss that, you know, if you guys find something you want.
Yeah, we're just wanted to try to make sure everything was nice and taken care of.
Yeah, this one's easy.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Any comments or questions from members of the audience?
You, Mark.
Okay, negative, conditional negative, or?
Yes, conditional, both, you know, no less than 2 standing snags shall be left, and replanting of native species at a 1-to-1 to be coordinated with myself.
And Matt explained that a conditional negative is a good thing?
It's a positive.
He did not, but I took that to be a positive thing.
Okay, yeah, it means we don't have to go any further in the process. So can I have a motion for a conditional negative determination of applicability?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're all set.
Okay, so Matt will be in touch with the next steps in the process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So we're a little bit early for 7:25, and it looks like they're off in the other room.
I actually think they're hanging out outside.
Okay.
But they're, I see a truck here. But if we want to take, we can kind of start working through some of the discussion items if,
That's, yeah, that helps.
and as previously included in the commission's meeting packet, a former member requested annual votes to reorganize as practice of, I mean, we don't have to change any of the positions, but just wanted to have the opportunity to have the discussion.
Who's not here anymore?
Yeah, I mean, okay.
I knew, I didn't.
I think it's, you know, it's, all the other boards and
I thought
committees do it, you know,
somebody
it's
from the
just
table was-
an opportunity to discuss and see.
Okay,
I'm happy with things, the way things are going.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'd like to hold my positions.
so,
I mean, I'd like to sit there, but
Oh, we have a contentious decision.
Stay, be on the commission 30 years and then you get to sit there.
then you get to choose your seat. Cool. Okay, so how do we want to?
Make a motion to
Continue with the same.
continue,
Can I have, and that includes liaison positions?
yes, and the appointment to, well, so I would do a motion to,
motion?
for Margaret to resume as chair, Eric to continue as vice chair, and Marilyn to resume her appointment to the Community Preservation Committee.
Can I have a motion? Can I have a motion to that effect? Thank you.
so moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now, with, you are the liaison to the Agricultural Commission. Do we have any other liaisons? Oh,
They haven't been,
Are you or are you not?
they reach out to me when they need something.
But are you
I-
like, you're not on their board?
Our liaison.
She's a liaison, but not a
Yeah.
commission
I don't go to
member.
the meetings.
So it shouldn't show, I'm thinking, you know, like,
I worked with Lori and Pam in the town manager's office to square that away a
oh, so I
couple
haven't
months.
seen that since I haven't tied
Yeah,
the
it's.
election, I haven't looked at that.
Yeah, we
'Cause I do
figured that out
those.
because she was included in there as,
Right.
but they had a,
That would have meant that.
they had
you
a
could
member,
vote and all that.
they had, in theory, they had an open membership, but it wasn't showing as open, so, and they had,
Okay.
they recently appointed
So
somebody,
has it
so.
been corrected on the board?
No, it is. It's correct in the system.
Oh, it is correct, so her
Yes.
name is on that?
Yes.
Okay, so
And,
that's correct.
but when, you know, the Agricultural Commission, you know, has questions, you know, they can go to Noel to report back to us, and,
But she is a member.
no, she's not a member.
A member
She's
of
just-
the ad
But she's on the
committee.
board?
No,
Oh, she's our
Okay, I
liaison to
didn't
the committee.
I understand that, but did it show up on the board when I look?
No,
Okay, so it's been taken off?
yes.
Okay, thank you, that explains it, okay.
so can I have a motion to have Noel continue as our liaison to the Agricultural Commission?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Are you want to vote no?
I wonder if we were supposed to have people accept accept
right.
it, but yeah,
Well, we asked first.
we've already voted. It's
Yeah,
fine.
that's fine.
We're past it.
Okay, so now we're at 7:25. Okay, do we want to maybe get another one out of the way?
Sure. I mean, if we,
What goes quickly?
we can tackle the Longsop for Pond fireworks.
Okay.
I included in the commission's meeting packet Eric's email kind of triggering this with his couple citations from, and then additionally a fact sheet from New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services about fireworks and water bodies. I did speak with the fire department's fire prevention officer about what their process is upon getting applications for a commercial entity to shoot off fireworks. They receive it, they check to make sure that the license, that the entity is licensed and they have all the safety, and then they ship it off to the state fire marshal. They don't really review the plan, they're just kind of notified that on this date, this is, there's something happening.
We don't have any idea of, what they're shooting off, how much perchlorate is being used.
So no material data sheet that tells us what chemicals
Yeah.
are involved?
So, how many pounds are being shot off, how much of, the chemicals, all of that.
Is that something that would be of interest?
I mean, is
to
that something that
fire
we could
prevention
get like
people?
a subcommittee together maybe and reach out to them and say, hey, looking at this, and I mean, I think our concerns are legitimate from a public safety, health and safety standpoint, maybe not associated with fire per se, but, again, when you look at the chloride issues that we had when they were building town garage, and, I just think we need to get a better handle on the chemicals that are being introduced to Long Sought for,
Do we need a committee, or is a letter sufficient to get us what we need?
I don't know. I don't know if we need to reach out as a subcommittee or have somebody come.
Why don't we reach
Well,
out
has-
to the board
have-
and see what we get back, and then see if we need further?
Well, I'm wondering if any other towns have already been down this path in terms of, what they do, if other towns have started working the issue.
I mean, when I went out and looked at the research, you could see what some other towns had done in the past.
Okay.
And, they were finding concentrations of contaminants of concern at elevated levels when they
Okay.
were looking for them.
So they did water testing.
Water quality sampling over a couple of year period. I think one was Dartmouth that did it.
Okay.
In, 2008, 2010 maybe. But others have looked and, they have found it when they have looked for it. And one of the concerns is that, shallow water bodies are more susceptible. And Long Sought for is very shallow water body.
Okay. No?
Could we ask the, MECC commissioners?
Yeah, I can certainly reach out to them. I know in the past I've reached out to the circuit rider and didn't get really a fruitful response. Again, in discussions with the fire prevention officer, his, where it's at, even with them, they don't have too much say. It's, at the state fire marshal's office that, even they, if the commission is interested in exploring a bylaw, but that's,
Or even, even testing. If somebody's going to do it, and if it's demonstrated in past literature that something is going to be present for a certain period of time afterwards, then let's test for these parameters that, some of the heavy metals that are present in these fireworks. If we got MSDS sheets material safety data sheets on these fireworks, the perchlorate, things like that, we'd know be in them. We'd be able to test for these chemicals or have a testing program as part of this, and let's see if they're there.
So first step would be finding out what vendors we could use for water quality testing, what the price range is, and then we that becomes one of our starting points.
So we want to, and parameters, it's like, okay, if you're shooting off fireworks, what do they have in them? Do they have copper? What are the metals?
Yep.
The heavy metals that are giving you the colors. What are the accelerants? All the different things. Let's find out what's in it so we find out what we should be testing for.
They do it in the Charles too, right? In Boston, the fireworks on the Charles.
Yeah.
And I know in Arlington, the Spy Pond, they do it right there in the Spy Pond.
The literature was kind of vague on what they talked about. Yes, they can detect the substances in the water, but then they always added with the line, but this calls for more research.
Well, when you look at the perchlorate level and what the contaminate concentration is like 2 parts per billion or something. It's very, very small, and they were clearly seeing perchlorate in testing that was done after fireworks displays for those who were doing the testing above the levels that are currently recommended.
And the recommendations in some of the articles were best management practices, effectively telling them to launch the fireworks higher and straighter up so that they don't fall into the waterways or onto the ground. If stuff does land on the ground, pick it up and dispose of it properly, that sort of thing. That was the extent of one paper's remedial actions. That was it.
It would be a shame to be doing something and having an adverse impact and the town not being aware of it because we weren't testing.
There's a lot of fireworks around the state of Massachusetts that they advertise every 4th of July. I think if we go to the circuit rider several times until they answer the questions, there's got to be other opportunities for information throughout the state, which they've got to.
Moving on to our 7:25 p.m. agenda item, it's a public hearing for Zom Living LLC, 37 Powers Road. Hi. So we're just going to read the public notice and then.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, August 28th, 2024 at 7:25 p.m. in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the abbreviated Notice of Resource Area Delineation application of Zom Living LLC for determination of wetland resource areas located at 37 Powers Road.
Good evening.
Thank you. For the record, my name is David Cowell. I'm a senior wetland scientist with Hancock Associates. We filed an ANRAD in request to verify the extent of jurisdictional wetland resource area and boundaries and associated buffer zone and setback zones on a property located at 37 Powers Road. This one's going to be a little bit complex in the context that we did qualify a couple of exemptions that I think we meet the qualifications for. Matt did provide some feedback and some not criticisms, but sort of retorts to those. And in discussions with Matt, we are both in agreement that I think this will go to peer review. Just with that in mind, I'll introduce it. So this is it's a gravel pit. It's with the NRED, obviously, we don't have any proposed development, but it's no secret that working for Zom Realty, there are plans to close the gravel pit and develop single-family housing. The intent of the NRED, of course, is to monument the wetland resource areas such that designers and planners can design their property or their project in accordance with the wetland standards. As disturbed as it is with the nature of the history, there's a few wetlands that are straightforward. They're simply bordering vegetated wetland, conventionally delineated with bordering vegetated wetland methods. I don't have concerns with those. We are qualifying, there's a number of, I believe, 3 or 4 different water bodies out there that we have qualified as exempt gravel pit ponds. Gravel pit ponds, under certain conditions, and I provided the regulatory citations that it's both in the Wetlands Protection Act and your town bylaws recognize it, afforded to gravel pit ponds that were created and have been utilized for the purposes of gravel pit operations. In this circumstance, there's 3 different water bodies and a channel that we believe qualify as gravel pit ponds. They're actively managed. They're subject to periodic dredge. They're heavily modified. They were created for the purposes of gravel pit operations in the context that there's pumping systems for water coming in and out of those that they're utilized for those purposes. One of the retorts, I think, that Matt had brought up was it's possible that there's obviously a wetland complex over there, and to go a bit down history and see whether or not these were jurisdictional wetlands historically, and whether or not they meet this criterion that we were citing for gravel pit pond exemption. There's one that's in the center of the property, which I'm not, that little one in the middle. I don't know if you can
You have a pointer.
Oh, I got, hey, wow. Talk about
Just don't look at it.
Look at this.
Yeah.
All right, hey, that guy, this is definitively a gravel pit pond. You guys, if we do a site walk or anything, you guys will look at this and agree. It's a very small feature that is it's all pumps and water in operation. The other 2 features, there's this sort of large pond here. There's this channel that runs off property that comes down here, is also maintained and dredged as part of their maintenance system. And then this pond as well, sorry, I'm shaking, I'm trying to, that one right there. Those are the 3 that we've believed meets the exemptions. Of course, I've agreed with Matt that I think we go to peer review on this and have a third party look at this, opine on this with us. During this review process with peer review and with the Conservation Commission, undoubtedly, we may have some revisions in this process until we conclude with what the jurisdictional resource boundaries are. But this is, it's presented as we see it, but we understand this will be a process. One thing I do want to add to the plan, there is a certified vernal pool right here off property. The one thing I didn't put on this plan that I will generate is, based on the high water on this, we can put the setback zones broadcast off of that. So that's just one, it's a criticism of my own work, it's an off-property potential vernal pool, but I want to at least call it out in the plans and show the buffer zone off of it. I don't think we need to delineate it because it's off-property, but we want to recognize it. The other feature is with construction of the, right here is a large residential complex. I think it's Tech Valley Drive. With construction, there was a created stormwater drainage swale and drainage easement that runs parallel to the property boundary up here. Looking at that and looking at the stormwater easements, we believe that this meets the criterion for stormwater infrastructure constructed after 1997, which would make it exempt. Again, on this one, that had provided some soft feedback that in the permitting for this, that there was an intermittent channel that they had relocated or modified.
And we restored this, and it was supposed to be that, but it was supposed to have buffers as well.
Yeah, and that was, and I didn't include, I just made reference to it in my email that was included, kind of my initial review. And did receive correspondence from David today regarding, we're going to find the actual, get a copy of the order of conditions, get a copy of the notice of intent. I mean, I also want to kind of go back and check the meeting minutes, because I'm sure that sounds like something that was...
This was a resource area that got wiped out, that we had done a line and reconstruct. But this is meant to be a resource area. This wasn't meant to be just an ancillary water course.
Yeah, and so, again, and that was just, that's research and knowledge that I had that,
that's fine.
and so
I'm just-
we're working to getting the documentation
that's
for
fine.
that, and also the plan set for the, provide a plan set to the applicant, just for their reference as well.
Yeah. No, and Eric, I recognize your tenure here with the commission and that you're, I'm not privy to the same permitting history that I'm sure
No, that's
some
fine.
of you guys have this. Yeah, that's, we're fishing for information here and in how the prior project was permitted, whether or not you had carried some contingencies here that were clearly stated in that this is not a stormwater management feature. So, yep, that'll, again, subject
No,
to...
but just something that, we,
Yep.
I know what we're trying to do here. We're trying to figure out the envelope that you can work within and construct within.
Right.
So, the information that we can bring forward to help better define that, the better for you.
Yep, that's right, yep. Yeah, we want this to be accurate.
Yep.
And we are respective of past precedents, findings that you may have had in the prior development, and some of this is fishing for information. Again, your recollections and memories being on the commission at that time, and...
I won't say it's 100% perfect, but
I know.
I think that's the recollection of me and probably the others who were on it, but, let's see what,
Yep. So I simply asked, I'd asked for a copy of the order of conditions and the site plans. Essentially, I want to look at the existing conditions plan and the grading and drainage plan, and just go down that rabbit hole. That's it. Those are the resource areas that are out here. The rest of it is gravel
So
pit.
Matt, do we need to look at this, or just to for us to make a determination whether or not these are, gravelled?
My intent was to start the process and hire a third-party reviewer. The timeline, have responses back for the commission to select somebody, select a firm by the commission's next meeting. Going forward, I don't know what your, my thought was to afford, so that's the award on the 11th. My thought was to have any report prepared by the 11th, of October 11th, which would then give you the better part of
November.
or October.
October,
and have kind of October 23rd, have them come present their findings and their report, and then, working towards, the, revision, substantial revisions, or, maybe it's, or substantial agreement. But, that's my...
That's the course that I saw this going to. Okay. Yep. And I think that's our expectations. That between now, but there's no reason that we can't coordinate a site walk while peer review is being solicited, to get you guys out there, get your eyes in the field and look at these. I'd be happy to coordinated and escorted walk of these resource areas with you guys, and just get that out of the way. You guys will get boots on the ground and see it out there.
I don't care either way. Just we're probably going to need to go out there at some point.
Exactly. Yeah. Whether or not you want to do it now or wait until peer review and
Do we want? One of the thoughts that I had is, do we want to have a chance to review the background information that Matt provides, that Matt comes up with before we go on?
I would prefer that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can get that for, I can circulate that tomorrow, and we can, schedule for the end of next week, again, kind of concurrent with the solicitation of third party, if that's the third party reviewer, if that's...
Before we go any farther.
Sure.
Any comments or questions from members of the audience? No? Okay, so now we need...
I'm surprised there weren't. Oftentimes when you send an ANRAD on a property of that magnitude, a lot of people show up outspoken about a project, and we have to cover that.
Yeah, well, I always try to remember to ask, and when I don't remember, people remind me.
Right. Yeah.
So we're now ready for the motion to do the, to submit, to put out an RFP?
Well, it's...
Or an RFQ?
If that's the direction of the commission, I can do that without a vote.
Okay.
And it would be just to continue to the commission's next meeting on September 11th. And we can look into scheduling a site walk if that's
Let's do it at our, we'll schedule it at our next meeting.
Okay.
Sounds fair.
We'll
Yeah,
have
so
time.
I would
We'll have
request.
plenty of time.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'd request if we continue to the next hearing, if we don't have solicitations back on RFPs, at that point, we can decide as that meeting approaches whether or not we continue again, if we don't have proposals back. Yeah, but I think that's a amenable course of action, if the commission's in agreement.
I have a motion to continue the public hearing till September 11th. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. I was happy to present tonight, and we'll coordinate forthcoming. Thank you, guys.
Take care.
All right.
Okay, moving on to our 7:35 PM agenda item. It's a continuation of public hearing, initial order of conditions for Spalding Hill Homes, 24 St. Paul Lane, which is lot 16.
Good evening, Mark Slager from Allen Engineering here on behalf of Spalding Hill Homes. I did receive a draft copy of the special conditions. I did have one comment that I think Margaret also picked up on, which was conditions 25 and 49 conflict with the number of times the area should be mowed. Condition 25 initially required mowing once, and 49 required mowing twice. So I think twice would be the appropriate.
And with the revised plan that you provided, looking at that, I also noticed that because condition 25 references the conservation signs, which are actually kind of at the property's edge. So in fact, condition 25 should be referring to the mowing restriction signs, not the
Okay.
conservation signs, right?
Yes.
And I had sent, when we got the revised plan yesterday, I looked at it and I had some questions I fed back to Matt. I don't know if you've had a chance to.
Did not get those.
Okay, so because looking at where the mowing restriction signs are, one of them is about, one of them,
Right here.
well, yes, and then, but looking at the third one, I'm looking at it and I start to say, well, that's 15 to 20 feet off the top of the boulder slope of the retaining wall. I was just curious why it's not closer and tying into those two features.
Well, this is at the top. There's a 3-to-1 slope that goes down to the boulder
Okay.
slope. I figured that area shouldn't be mowed either.
So,
Even though it's outside the buffer zone, we'll put a sign there, and that, this is the area that won't be mowed.
Okay.
It will only be mowed twice, so.
but, so you're saying above the boulder slope will be mowed?
Well, not in the buffer zone.
Right, no, but the homeowner, and that's where,
It's tough to mow a 3-to-1 slope.
but I'm thinking if they've got somebody mowing a 3-to-1 slope, are they gonna start, are they even, if they're mowing across the top of the boulder slope, are they even going to be seeing the sign that's 15 feet away and they may just mow right past it?
You recommending more signage along that line?
We could
Well,
put the sign there, or,
Yeah, I'm just thinking, is finding a way for the sign to tie in to indicate, so that the three signs, if you look one to the next, you've got a line that goes from the boulder slope to the property line.
okay?
Okay. And from the discussion that we had last meeting, I think we had talked about, following the slope, and so that's why the first post is inside the 75-foot. When I looked at the revised plan for lot 17, the corresponding flag, the corresponding mowing sign on lot 17 is actually like 35 feet up the property line. And, part of me is thinking, are we going to have issues if there's a slope running across the property line and one homeowner can mow it and the other one can't? And I'm just... You know, and I just,
I think, can we, Matt, can you pull up the 17?
yeah.
Or the combined plan?
122, I don't have.
17 works well because you can see the edge of what's on 16. Yeah, and
Yeah, and I think basically this is right at the 100-foot buffer, and again, this is a 3-to-1 slope here.
you don't think they'll mow that either?
They've got a lot of backyard over in this area, so we've got the no-mow signs along this top, and I've got it at the 100-foot buffer.
Yeah.
I didn't want to have a stop mowing down there, but this is not a 3-to-1 slope here. In fact, this isn't even a 3-to-1 slope. It's just steep here.
Okay.
In reality, I mean, if we move the sign here, that's really not
And
within the
yeah,
commission's jurisdiction, but in all likelihood, they're not going to mow this anyway.
no, but I'm just
3-to-1 slope.
okay. And so if they're not mowing that, they probably wouldn't be looking to mow farther down the slope, even though it becomes more gradual.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not going to leave this natural and then mow this.
Okay, and I just, you know, I'm looking at it on paper and I'm thinking, what are the kinds of questions and issues that have come up in the past? And it's just when the two mowing areas
They're all set
don't.
by 25
Don't
feet.
coincide, yeah, they don't,
Yeah, it just, you know, and it just, but I couldn't,
What if we split the difference?
well,
Move this one down and move that one up, so that
Well-
so it makes it more of a smooth contour.
Well, it's not really consistent with what the
know.
people
Yeah.
on 16
But
want,
a
but
25-foot offset right
17,
at the property line is kind of awkward too.
well, and,
not really. I mean,
that would be,
we could put stakes on the lot line too.
that would be, 25 feet is the typical kind of requirement for a conservation post.
That's the difference, essentially the distance between those two.
yeah, so
Yeah,
so for
you know,
some
for
reason
20,
it just takes a jog along the
Right,
property line.
so it
Okay.
it is, I think, again, where did this go?
And it just,
It's similar space, it's probably closer spacing than the, the conservation signs along the rear of the, the existing natural vegetation, so.
and for me, it was,
Yeah, it's right there.
well, and for me, it was just, I see something and now is the opportunity to ask the questions. So, I asked the question, and so yes, if we basically are saying the no mow, because of changes in the grade, the no mow takes a jog at the property line, I think I'm fine with, that's the approach that we take.
Okay.
Okay. So, lot 16.
I have a question on one
Sure.
of the other conditions. On condition 41, it talks about the building inspector inspecting the proposed boulder slope. I thought the building inspector's letter was about the walls, not necessarily just the slope, the boulder slope.
So the
I know all the walls are exactly 4 feet or less, but I thought that's what his letter or email to you had said, was that he was concerned with the walls.
It's a difference in terminology. He's referencing the boulder slope as being a retaining wall. And that's why he
How
was,
do we know that? I don't know that.
that was his concern. Again, and it was more so on lot 15 than lot
Right,
16.
there were two lots.
Right, and lot 15 is the lot that, that is wholly outside of the commission's jurisdiction. And that has that has a constructed boulder slope, retaining wall currently.
I don't have it in his email in front of me, but you're certain that he's completely okay with all the walls, not the.
And he wants to be he's in conversation with him.
Yeah.
His conversation with the structural engineer who provided the last name began with a P. Phelan. With which was previously included in the commission's. I don't know if it was included in the commission's other. Yeah, so he spoke with the structural engineer that reviewed lot 15 and let him know that he wants to be on site and inspect, the construction of the boulder slope on lot 16, which is this lot, because it's not finish.
The boulder slope.
The boulder slope.
Okay, all right, good enough, never mind then.
And that's referenced in this
Yep, that's what it
special
says.
condition.
Yep, I got it, thank you.
So, and with condition 25, we're amending it to replace the words conservation sign with the mowing restriction sign? Okay.
And in the second to last sentence, that the area shall not be mowed more than twice per year.
Okay.
That was your comment.
Yep. Commission have any other comments or changes for the order, And you're good with the orders as amended?
Yes.
Okay, can I have a motion to issue the order of conditions as amended?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that's lot 16, and now we've also got the minor modification and request for lot 17.
I haven't seen anything.
Well, it's not a modification, it would be, I mean, like, per the plan.
Yeah, the only thing that had struck me on lot 17 is there's, again, the 3 no mowing signs. There's like 70 feet between the middle the middle mowing restriction sign and the one over by the property line.
From here to here.
Yes, and
So you want one halfway?
I would, yes, because we've also got a 7-foot change in elevation, so I would really want something that makes it clear for the landscaper, you know, help him draw the line, or her,
Yep.
okay? I don't think I had any other. No, I think that was it for my questions. Did any other members of the commission have comments or questions? Pat, anything?
Would recommend the commission make a motion to approve the minor modification pending receipt of the revised plan with the 4th no mowing sign, just.
So moved.
Second? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, and so you'll get the plan with the 4th sign to Matt, and we'll be all set?
Yep, okay, very good.
Very much.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Do you want me to send these to you? Send the order to you? Talk, see who wants it.
Did we close the public hearing?
Just to record it.
No, this was a minor
No,
modification.
but the one before?
Oh, did we? Did I?
So, yeah, we
We
did.
did, okay, thanks.
Yeah, I've gotten pretty good at issue close. Okay, but thank you for checking. Moving on to our 7:40 PM agenda item. It's a continuation of public hearing and issue order of conditions for Sarkeesian, 115 Main Street. Good evening.
I'm Mitch Dutcher, I'm the contractor doing the work at the Sarkeesian's home. I reviewed the order conditions with them. They have no issues. The only change from how they currently manage the property is just allowing that 5 foot of growth back, which they have no issue with.
Is that letting 5 feet from the wetland flags renaturalize?
Okay. Matt, can you zoom in a little bit on this? So the one question I had is, we see the 30-foot distance wetlands to footings. It appears to point at that line parallel to the edge of the deck as opposed to identifying the one footing the footing that's closest, and that would be the one with the 30-foot.
Yeah, so the line is 30 feet from the 27.8, that dotted line. So, you know, obviously the footings are just going to run in a straight row.
Okay, but it would only be the one on the left that would actually be as close as 30 feet. The footing on the left side in this picture.
Yeah, that's the only one that was going to be within the 30 feet.
Okay.
At the 30
At the 30.
Yeah,
Okay, it just, yeah, I was a programmer, but I look at things and I read them the way they're written, so. Okay. Do any members of the commission?
Exactly what we talked about.
Yep.
Yep, no, that is what we talked about.
Okay, and no comments or changes to the order of conditions?
I just have to include the specific revision date for the plan, but that's minor.
Okay. Can I have a motion to issue the order of conditions?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, so Matt you'll be in touch with Matt and you'll get the paperwork you need?
yeah, once I get the permit approved, then we'll set up the schedule to do the site walk.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you so
All right,
much.
thank you.
Another one.
And another one. Moving on to our 7:45 PM agenda item, it's a public hearing and issue order of conditions for Hill, 50 Lakeshore Drive South.
We did receive a DEP file number this morning. It is 334-1858.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had to work that hard to get a DEP file number before. Hi, everybody, Peter Blaisdell. Mr. Hill couldn't make it tonight, and I want to apologize. I was trying to silence my phone, and it got louder, and I couldn't get it stifled. It was like a horror movie. I'm like, this is not going well. So I apologize for the interruption.
Not a problem.
All right. So yeah, we ended up having to roust about 2 or 3 people from DEP. They had the checks, they had cashed them, they had signed them, and for some reason they were still said they were waiting for fees. So sorry for the delay on that. Let's see. Did you want to talk about just your site visit the other day?
So I did perform a site visit on Friday. I wasn't able to identify the 3 dead hemlock trees. I only found 2 at the time. There were 2 other smaller hemlocks that were exhibiting growth. And additionally, the former stairs within the retaining wall that led down to the stairs to be removed within the land underwater, from the land underwater body, appeared to start to have been jackhammered out and removed. I was frustrated to see that had started as a part of prior to the commission issuing the order of conditions.
Yeah.
And with that, and because of the history of the property for failing to record the previous orders of conditions and for failure to comply with the plans, included in the draft special conditions is 1, to hire an on-site project review consultant engineer to routinely and regularly stop out to the site, just because between this and between the previous infractions dating back to the original order of conditions, I want to have eyes on it twice a week.
Twice a week, okay.
That's not, and not rely on me and, making sure that I get out there.
So I just want to respond to that. So I had no idea what happened. As a matter of fact, I had to read it a few times. So I asked Mr. Hill what happened. He was confused with what he was supposed to do. So after the last meeting, when it was decided that that was going to be, it needed to be bricked up and not bolted up, he thought he was supposed to be doing that. And he had said, well, when I have a mason come out, I'm going to have him redo the stairs, and at the same time, I can have him start bricking up the door. Why? I don't know. So I said, okay, don't do anything else. He did not mean to do, it did not mean to make anybody upset. He honestly thought he was supposed to be working on getting the door bricked up. I told him not to do anything else. He said he will not. So anyways, unfortunately, with the history of this project, it's not going to come off as like, oh, well, whatever. But anyways, he did not mean to do anything. Trust me, if we were trying to be sneaky, I think we would have been cleverer. But this was not clever, and this was certainly out in the open. It was not.
It's never been about being clever. It's just been about doing it.
I don't know.
Cleverness has never been part of this.
If you're gonna do it, at least do it better. Anyways, So, and as far as the trees go, if there's, you know, 2 dead hemlocks is fine. If you want to put it in the order that he can take those out, that's fine. And as far as here's the only thing with the monitoring. We would like to do it, and the only reason I say that is that Thor from our office that you've done, Thor spends 32 hours a week doing environmental monitoring for Nahant, North Andover, and a lot of different towns. We know the project a little bit better than everybody. Plus, if we start to see something that he, you know, maybe shouldn't be in line, we're going to tell him to stop immediately, because we're going to be the ones doing the as-built and doing the COC. I just want to throw that out there. If you have a different philosophy, that's fine.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be, you know, I would want to see, you know, a contract, you know, some formalization, a contract, you know, something that's, you know, in place, and to make sure that, you know, we're receiving the regular updates.
We'll give you, if you want, two inspections a week. I mean, I live in Billerica, Thor lives in Gloucester, but he's usually on the road. You know, we can do one at the beginning of the week, and we can do one at the end of the week, if you want, to make sure that's done properly.
Well, and the special condition also included the weekly reports.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want 2 inspections a week or 2 reports a week? Or 2 inspections and 1 report?
2 inspections, 1 report.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
It's great.
I think if we're keeping that level of eyes on it, we will get ahead of anything that goes off track.
We hope. It's surprising how quickly things can go
Yes.
awry.
Let's try to.
And have in the past, but you know, this is, if we
Good idea.
have oversight to the extent of a, you know, a couple of times a week with a report, then,
I'm
you
willing
know,
to try it.
Yep,
yeah, I'm good with that.
and certainly that doesn't relieve Matt of the ability to go and put his own eyes on it.
Correct.
Matt is always welcome to come by. Trust me, nobody wants to get this done more than we do. And if you, trust me, I try to say to my clients a lot of times, if you really think I enjoy having to show up to try to explain why you screwed up, I really don't enjoy it. So anyways, let me just get that out there. But anyways.
He's going to have a great, lovely house. He just needs to follow instructions.
So anyways, I have told him to not do anything else on the site until all the permits are issued.
Okay.
So we're ready to move on to the order?
Yes.
Okay. So people have had a chance to review it. I had an editorial correction on condition 43. There was an A missing an area. In the phrase, and such area is stabilized. And then, Matt, you're saying that the 3 trees should actually be 2 trees?
Yes, in the finding on the second page, that 2 trees are proposed to be removed and 2 shall be replanted to replace said removed trees.
Do you have, do you want that to be something that we just agree on in the field, or do you have an idea?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's special. There's a special condition for that.
Okay. I didn't see, I thought you emailed me a draft. I didn't see it in my email, but maybe
It may have been Sierra.
what was that?
It may have been Sierra.
Oh, okay.
So that's why.
That could be.
If
You
you're
don't
looking
have
for
a
me.
draft?
I trust you guys.
God, take mine.
I mean, what else can go wrong, right? I mean, you know.
Do any of the members of the commission have any comments on the order? Any members of the audience have any comments or? Okay.
Better give the man some time to read.
Yeah, no, but it just,
I think most of this is stuff we've already talked about, but yeah, I'm just going to make sure.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I really like how, you know, you use the track changes so that we can really see what's different than the boilerplate.
It's actually, we just highlighted in red because it.
Oh. Track changes are
Printing track changes gets wonky, so.
Okay.
So we just highlighted in red for, again, it's not that much. that
Highlight in
we-
red and underline
That
it.
changes from the,
Yep.
and I underline it because if people if it gets printed in black and white, it ends up getting grayed out. That was, again.
Matt, I assume for special condition 43, that's just
Yes,
During active construction period, right? So if they shut down for the winter,
Yep, and again, there's, I think, yeah, these inspections shall continue until such time as the work in the buffer zone is complete and the disturbed areas within the buffer zone is, yes, it's, well, work is, second paragraph, last sentence. In the event work within the buffer zone is completed or suspended in such area, that was the area, is stabilized, said inspections will be suspended until and unless work within the buffer zone resumes.
If it looks good, can I have a motion to issue the order of conditions as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay, and now, request for certificate of compliance.
As the initial order of compliance issued in the 90s, 95, 0714, as that work, well, is superseded by the work in, that was just approved by the commission, and same with 1237, construction of the house. I would recommend those two certificates of compliance be issued. 334-1241 was the bank renaturalization that was required by the commission upon to correct deficiencies from prior or work previously done on the site. This was this was the order of conditions the enforcement order was issued subject to, and I would recommend that stay open until the metal door gets bricked over by the mason.
So can I have a motion to issue certificates of compliance for DEP file number 334-0714 and file number 334-1237?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye. Thank you, Margaret. It wasn't so hard. It wasn't so hard. 30 years, no big deal.
Send these to you.
Yeah, sure, please. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate all your effort.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to our, thank you. 7:50 PM agenda item, it's continue public hearing and issue order of conditions for Pulaski 60 Elm Road.
As of 5 PM this evening, we had still not received the DEP file number. I'm going to take this call, the landscape architect.
Do we need a Met?
I guess that's a fair enough question.
We spoke with him at the site visit.
So maybe it'd be best to record the site visit.
Let's start there.
The site visit was attended by Eric, Marilyn, Jim, Ann, and Margaret.
I did my own little thing on my paddleboard, but I don't think you saw me.
I went out there, but we weren't sure if it was you or not, just like
We kind of thought so.
watching us all from a distance.
Your name,
Observer.
your name.
No, at a different time.
Your name did come up.
Yeah.
And if the existing conditions were reviewed, the proposed scope of work was discussed with the property owner. The landscape architect, Mr. Russo, was called to clarify a couple points about how the field stones were going to be set on the existing concrete, and the differentiating that from where it's proposing to be set in non-concrete areas. Is there any finer details that I'm missing?
No, we kind of walked around, we looked at what was being proposed. You know, we were, I think by and large, from what I could see on the plan itself, it seemed to be addressed for the most part. You know, if it gets built as designed, you know, it was, as we took the corner, there's this sharp little area before you got to the back where it's gonna be, I mean, and we were talking about, wow, was this whole thing gonna be just, you know, this field stone? There was a little area there, I could see it where it was naturalized as you took.
So next to the U's?
Next to that, almost like a fence or whatever it was right there, or as you came around that corner.
Okay. On the lake side or the house side?
House side.
Oh, okay.
There was some naturalization there, a couple spots.
I'm pulling up the plan.
Yeah.
Jim?
My comments from the site visit are, Area A is an improvement. It'll be more infiltration of water. Area B is great. It has a nice buffer against the waterway, and there should be good infiltration everywhere. The only area I had any concern with is Area C, because the field stone is being placed on top of a solid concrete slab. So that won't be any better or any worse than it was before.
Mm-hmm. And I think in the site visit we had talked, you had, that what was going to happen is where the stones were going to be placed on top of the concrete.
Right.
They would be basically glued to the concrete and grouted between, so that we're not worrying about water infiltrating and freezing.
Washing it away, right.
Or just even freezing and causing
Heaving.
thing upheavals. Okay, so Eric?
Yeah, that one area I was talking about right here. At first I didn't realize that was to stay natural, but it does.
Yeah. Okay. So your first thought had been that that was going to become part of the patio, and now it's
Right,
not.
it's not.
Okay. Yeah, and Gary, we had conversations, and we're talking about the hydrangea and the Rose of Sharon that were being relocated over to the property line. When we were on the site visit, you have some gorgeous tall oak trees, and one of the, my first thought was, are they going to have enough sunlight to really survive? The other thing that occurred to me afterwards is those big trees have a root network, and my concern was how the landscape architect and contractor are going to be able to dig holes to put those Rose of Sharon and the hydrangea in there without impacting
the root system.
The root system, but also I didn't know if where you're removing the pavement and putting down a subsurface, are you also potentially coming close to the roots for those large oaks?
Sure. So I spoke to John, and the new locations will be hand dug.
Okay.
Over here, and the either is it a dingo or a bobcat with tracks will be used to excavate the asphalt here. The nearest trees to the front, there would be one, I think there's one here next to the utility pole.
Yeah, I was really thinking those
On the
very
side.
impressive oaks that you have along the property line.
Yeah, so I measured those today. I think the nearest one may be 12 or so. I think there's one back towards the end of the property line actually it's over here along the water. And then there's one here. It's 10 to 12 or 12 to 15 feet from any, now obviously the roots are under there, we know that.
The roots mirror the branches.
But they're planning on hand digging in this area anyway.
Okay.
To do that, to be safe.
Yeah, because my only concern is those are very large, mature trees.
Yeah.
If they get compromised, depending on the wind direction, it's either going on your house or the neighbor's house. So it just, is putting the thought in there that said, it looks great in the after picture, but sometimes it's how you get from today to then that can give you issues. So,
We understand that there was also some consideration for how much this is going to cost in terms of what was going to get done first. And what is that plan time-wise?
Well, the hardscape, the real hardscape, including the softscape of the relocation of those.
A, B, or C first?
Well, A, B, and C, for the most part, is going to get done together.
Oh, that's the whole thing.
Or they're going to be in, so is the cost going to come into more how much the plantings cost versus how much the hardscape work costs?
Yeah, for now, the hardscape, this is a hardscape, primarily a hardscape, relocating a few of the ones that we've discussed, providing some privacy for the neighbors, always a priority, and then getting the hardscape done. We're not asking to remove any trees.
Area A is going to get done. The stone walkways in Area B are going to get done first
Yep,
also.
A, B, and C from a hardscape standpoint is
The
the
only thing that's going to
plan.
get done later would be the plantings.
The prettier, the smaller plantings over time, but the bigger stuff, these two here, or 2.5, there's a rhododendron right there, will get done in this phase because they're going to have to tear up the parking lot to do it, and that's the time. There's a little, maybe a foot or, you saw the foot or two stone paver wall that's here. That's going to be moved back, as we had indicated earlier.
Confused as far as what's going to happen in the I don't know, how's this divided up over the course of a year or 2 years, something like that? You thinking? If that's it, what happens in the first 6 months? Which part?
A, B, and C. You give us the okay, A, B, and C hopefully gets done.
The hardscape gets done first.
All the stone.
A, B, and C is project D is made up of A, B, and C. How about that?
The first thing is all the stonework. And when that's all done, when more money arrives, then you're going to do the plantings? Is
We'll
that?
see what the planting looks like. I mean, the planting of now is fine for us. The getting those moved is required for every reason. They don't belong there, and we need the privacy on the side, and we want to get the parking lot paved. So there's multiple reasons why that gets done. Well, it's all going to get done at once because the contractors are going to be there, and there's no reason not to do it all, I guess. Not I guess, I mean, there's no reason. It's A, B, and C is a hardscape project to be done at one time.
And then the supplemental plantings will occur as there are funds available. So the supplemental plantings in primarily Area B?
I would hope that Area B up against the wall.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing in C at all. It's waterfront.
Right.
There's going to be, if anything, something small and low in this flower, in the dirt bed that's there.
I just want to make sure that the buffer along the water, which is all plantings in B,
Yeah, this was
That happens.
that it happens, and that it happens relatively soon. I don't want all the hardscape done and then no
So
buffer.
make a motion that it happens while the hardscape happens.
Again, so we don't have a DEP file number, so we can't close the public hearing and issue tonight. If certainly I can, in between now and the commission's next meeting, we can get, kind of something more flushed out from the property owner with respect to here's what we're looking to do at this point, in these 6 months, the next 6 months.
I think what Jim wants to do is if the hardscaping is going to happen, that we're guaranteed that the plantings along the water is also going to happen.
Yes.
That brings back the question, along the waterfront, how many of what's shown on the plan are already in place?
Well, you saw there's a whole,
Yeah, but it just,
They have it.
along the waterfront.
They have existing before them. I only see like one or two that have EX. I can't pronounce it and I can't read it, but
okay,
over here, this is an
So-
existing plan.
okay, so
Plethora.
Various hydrangeas in there.
So the ones that are kind of shaded in are going to be the new ones?
I can't say 100% because this was that extreme
Okay.
We've got a little
makeover.
time, we can talk about this at our next meeting,
Right.
but, we should figure that out because
Okay.
this is what Jim wants to have happen.
I can certainly draft a special condition to that effect, to make sure that, within the first 5 feet of the retaining wall is, vegetated concurrently with.
And it won't stop you from doing it.
Additionally, one kind of special condition that I omitted was one that, not that it, as described by the property owner on the site visit, any of the repointing of the wall and the work within kind of the stairs going down and the kayak slope launch, those were to be done during drawn down conditions, and
Yeah. That's what we had talked about.
Yeah, and I forgot to include it as a special condition. And so, I'll draft something to that effect again. Not certainly one of the more practical. It's more practical for the contractor to do it as such, but nice to have
I
it in.
remember talking about bringing a machine in there, but we didn't need to bring a machine in there.
Yeah. And while we're talking about the order of conditions, one of the findings mentions 3 dying trees to be removed. I think that's a holdover from somebody else's order.
I think that was a holdover from the previous order.
From the previous order,
So you don't have any dying trees you're looking to get rid of?
No, everything was good.
Considering that the subsequent finding said no existing mature trees are proposed to be removed as part of this project.
Yeah, okay.
Happens.
Covering our bases, any and all we're covered.
Okay.
No dying trees to be
Sounds
removed.
like a good
Okay.
idea.
That's just,
Let's continue this, and then we'll meet and finalize these
Doesn't
orders at
stop
our
you
next
from doing
meeting.
well, we'll finalize the orders when DEP gives us the file
Yes.
number.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully that'll be with.
How long does it normally take them from the time they receive, all they needed was a plan?
The last applicant before you had a problem with them issuing a number. It took a while.
Yeah, but the 37 Powers also got one. I mean, again, so
I don't know.
we'll follow up next week and see if they need additional materials or who knows, maybe the Labor Day weekend we'll refresh them all and we'll get file numbers issued.
I'd gotten your note from them and then just sent them plans certified.
And have a yeah. So so motion to continue till September 11th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, and if you want to just, and I don't know, Matt, if there's somebody to reach out to figure out, okay, what do we need to do to get this over the line, to get the file number?
Okay. I could have a representative come in. I may be away then, but I don't want to
Okay.
postpone this.
That's okay.
Yep,
That's okay.
Yeah, and Matt, we'll send you out the revised order of conditions if you have any comments and questions. Some of that can be handled via email and phone.
Sure.
So, okay.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Not to worry.
Okay. Moving on to our 7:55 PM agenda item, certificate of compliance request for McCarthy, 38 Burn Ave.
This certificate of compliance request came in as the property is being transferred, and it came up during a title search. While the scan didn't scan well, I included a section from the notice of intent from November 1988, and they show the existing conditions that didn't have a retaining wall and the proposed conditions that showed a 30 by 2 foot concrete retaining wall. Using aerial imagery from, there appears to be a 30-foot concrete retaining wall. Google Street View from sometime also illustrates a 30-foot or an existing concrete retaining wall, whereas the plans reviewed by the commission at the time were hand-drawn, including within about 2 inches in the notice of intent. We I did not want to require engineered plans. Based upon the existing conditions, my site visit.
In good shape?
It looks like it's been maintained, I'd recommend the commission issuing this certificate of compliance.
And I have a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 334-0360.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to our 8 PM agenda item, it's continued public hearing for Holland, 90 Main Street.
The applicant has requested a continuance without discussion to the September 11th meeting.
Can I have a motion to continue the public hearing till September 11th?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Prior business schedule for September 11th meeting. Okay. So that's just kind of stuff that's being.
Programming note, because again, I was afraid with how the duration of the commission's last 2 meetings, I was afraid this one was going to be similar to that, and we were going to be getting to them
No,
at about.
I'm glad that you put them on the
9:20.
11th.
We can.
I'm glad you considered that.
You know,
Yeah.
we're looking out for everybody's best interest here. I can continue on to discussion. 20 Keys Road, I left a second voicemail. I'm planning on having a conversation with the building commissioner as a building permit was issued for roofing and siding, of which I think the debris, that is the debris with which is kind of at the
Come from there.
wetlands edge, and try to go about it a different angle. Additionally, get a couple of trees. I did look at the property on some historical aerial imagery, and it appears that the trees that were removed no longer had vegetation on them, and that there were very few branches. So it likely was they were dead trees but were habitat. So I do want to have trees replanted for the 3 with which were removed. So look to have an update at the commission's next meeting.
Thanks.
User concern follow-up from at the Stony Brook Conservation Area. We received an email from a resident as they were stopped by other people at the conservation area about asking about the ruts in the dirt road. And I forwarded this email to the Director of Public Works. They've created a work order for it. They'll get to try and grade it out when they, in the scope of their activities. Additionally, I did receive a note from Marilyn, a resident, asked about the Grassy Pond entrance road, and if DPW is going to be doing something right down the street.
Is that rutted? I don't know.
Every couple days a week, and it's pretty bad.
There's a couple potholes.
Give him a call, by the way.
Yeah, I'll follow up, but we can ask DPW to
While they're in the neighborhood.
try and address it at a similar time. With respect to police reports, I requested
August 14th?
Yes, August 14th. There was another one that I found, and then there was a police report for Freedom Park on another day. The record supervisor at the police department is waiting for officers to follow up and finish. The officers are doing some follow up with the reporting parties, so we're on top of it. I check, typically the Thursday before the meeting, I go back to, see what happened, what's been happening and I found one for Freedom Park that I don't know if I would have, that I wasn't aware of. And so thankfully, I was like, okay, well, let's get that police report as well, just for the records. And we'll see about that.
Jim?
You also update the board on the cancellation of the liquor request at East Boston
Oh,
campus?
yes, so the alcohol, the approval to serve alcohol at the event this past Saturday, the requester,
David Freed.
Yeah, the requester on the Monday following the meeting sent an email saying that since he missed the meeting, he wasn't going to serve alcohol. It took me a couple days I hadn't gotten to that following up from the meeting, so that kind of became null. And once again, next time something like this comes up, it's a reminder that sometimes people have to be responsible for their own their own stuff, and they have to show up. And
They did have a big party there, probably like 50, 75 people, like they said, dining hall in the area in front of it, and it looked fine.
Okay, great.
So they were responsible.
Yep.
Lessees.
From what I could see, yeah, I walked down to the boys beach and then back afterwards.
Hope they had a good time.
It looked like they were, so that's good.
Where we never got beach attendance, do we know what other information we need in place to try to do it again next year?
I'll follow up and have get a job description
Okay.
identified. Also, just one thing now that there are mosquitoes, the prevalence of mosquito-borne illnesses, and certainly in my walks up there, with these with an attendant sitting right next to that vernal pool, alongside the main entrance road, I may want to look into kind of like a single person tent, or something to keep them from not just it's Jim, it's much to your point, when we were talking about the Rangers and everything, as well, if you get a Ranger, then you need an ATV. Well, then if you get an ATV, then you need something else, and it's like, and it's one of those things that you don't really realize that the that's not good. I hit a plug. So it's one of those things that as you start to flesh it out, you start to realize, if you give a mouse a cookie, So I'll certainly work to spread that. And just one last piece, the police department on their Facebook page posted yesterday that I think an additional bike patrol was out, monitoring the property, and they came across a Cub Scout troop that was doing a fishing activity on Burgess Pond, and the scouts picked up trash as they were leaving. And once again, so twofold. One, once again, thank you to the police department and their officers for monitoring it, for being a presence. Certainly, I think the calls slowed down as the summer progressed, and also thanks to, once again, started the meeting off with the Eagle Scout candidate, but also with the younger scouts, taking an interest in the town's conservation lands and picking up trash. It's certainly
Do we have any kind of collection of how many of these projects? Because in all the years I'm sitting here, they have done so many.
I think we had.
What?
We had a list you sent out.
Yeah, I can find it, and I mean, we'll probably need to update it with.
A nice piece at some point that we
Bill
just
Turner
during
had
an
one.
evening.
Had an ongoing list of.
I think
So that's a to be. This, I think Marilyn's talking about the ones that are done.
Completed,
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
but what I'm saying is it might be a nice thing for us to do at some point, to have a recognition and a listing. Maybe we do it here and then pass it on to the board of selectmen. I mean, we should have a recognition. It's because they've done an enormous amount of things in all the years I've been sitting here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just nice to show that we appreciate it,
Yep.
They do too.
I'm sorry?
They do too, because they need those projects to,
Oh, well, I get that.
They're service
But it means a lot
projects,
to
yeah.
us.
But,
I mean,
I mean,
it
it's-
doesn't cost us anything.
No, I think it's been great, a win-win, so I'm all for it.
Yeah, but I just would like an acknowledgement. I mean, all the years I'm sitting here, God, there's been a lot.
Yeah, and there's a lot of Eagle Scout projects, but then you also look at this
Girl Scouts and everybody I realize too, but.
and all the things they do, like they're doing a fishing thing and they pick up trash. So there's a lot.
That's a side.
Yeah, there's a lot that they do above. They do the big things, but then they also do a lot.
Right, but wouldn't it be nice if we found a way to honor that they didn't expect, and that was mentioned. I mean, I just think that would be a nice thing.
Public meeting sometimes, there goes the surprise.
Say
but
again?
talking about it at a public meeting kind of ruins the surprise, but yes, your point's well taken, and I can start to.
Let's continue this.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Let's keep our.
Yes, let's finish.
Let's keep on time track. Okay, Edwards Woods.
I don't have an update.
Okay, with the police visit to the neighbor. Okay. Freedom Park improvements. You're still going to meet with the
Representative from the Parks Department to figure out what's the best way to install monuments, so that and also identify the best timing to if we mow the kind of buffer area similar to a meadow, to 12 to 18 inches, and also reincorporate allow the time for the seeds to disperse, the
To do
native
it.
vegetation seeds to disperse, but not the invasive vegetation.
Well, and that's the thing, is the way they mowed it last fall. I mean, that makes it easier for the invasive seeds to take hold. But yeah, you know, that a lot of the meadows and places around town, they don't mow till mid to late October, and that would be good to do here. And I think just also, once we know what that information is, feed it to the neighborhood so that the neighbors understand that it'll be mowed later in the year, but it will be done. Yeah, but yeah, the vegetation's going back beautifully. I think it must have been the seeds that you sprinkled last, because after they mowed last year.
Yeah, I think I put something, I think we had some extra from the sycamore and cypress.
Yeah, so we've got lots of vegetation there. Okay, and then we're also working to connect with the scouts in terms of
Did
continuing.
you get my email this time?
Yes, on Jeremy Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll have to make a connection with him in terms of carrying that forward. Summer Village Conservation Restriction. Okay. Jarvis Hill.
I met with the treasurer of the association last Friday, because it was amazing out. And we walked the open space parcel, because he had some questions about a post and rail fence delineating access off of the main road that is starting to show its age, and kind of ideas for replacing that. And since I was on site and it was a beautiful day, we walked the entire loop to the area with which had been cut. Certainly no further activity, you know, there's no signs of further activity, and some vegetation is starting to regrow. So I mean, it's still, you still see the stumps, but there are sapling, you know, it is starting to repopulate naturally, and I can follow up. I intend to follow up with an email, just kind of documenting the site visit, and also with some of the ideas for replacing the post and rail fence, but also, you know, kind of outlining options for how to proceed with, you know, if whether we install monumentation on the stone, along the stone wall, particularly in that area, but also, you know, along the entirety of, thankfully, that area, that property is bound by stone walls, so it is clearly, you know, the plans of record show the stone wall as the property line, so, you know, it's fairly, I think it would be fairly easy to monumentize, and not require a surveyor to, you know, get into the, you know, the stone walls. The stone walls your property, you know, where it is the existing property line.
So we don't have minutes.
We received minutes. I had not reviewed them, so they'll be included for the commission's next meeting.
We ordered our site visit to 60 Elm Road.
Yep.
We'll schedule a site visit to 37 Powers Road over the next couple of weeks. Or was it
We'll
gonna
wait
be-
till our next meeting
Yeah,
and
Okay, so
then
we'll schedule that for the next,
Yeah.
okay, so after the next meeting. Okay. Anything else to bring up? Never motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.